Yeah. Okay. So once you have the foundation of the triads under your belt, then that, that lays the foundation for everything else. Um, so let's actually start with sevenths,
Okay.
because that's
Yeah.
kind of the next logical step. Because if we think back to what we were doing before, where we were just stacking major and minor thirds, which we didn't really use that terminology last week. Does it make sense when I say that?
Yeah, I think okay, so yeah, so or so a minor third would really just be a step above or well that
Yeah, so a major third is the interval of two whole steps, and a minor third is 1.5 steps. So a major triad is a major third plus a minor third, and a minor triad is the opposite. So, for instance, if we take that D major triad, we take D, F sharp, and A, and then I'm going to put it all on one string. This microphone's not great for.
yeah, that's all right. I got you. I got you. Yeah, I
Okay.
can interpolate.
Um, if I go up two whole steps from D, I get F sharp. And then if I go up 1.5 steps, a minor third from the F sharp, I get our fifth A. So two whole steps, 1.5 steps, and that gives me a major third and a minor third.
Okay.
So do that for me real quick on one string.
That's the two whole steps.
Yep. And then from the F sharp, go up 1.5.
To the A.
Yeah, cool. So then if you wanted to do a D minor triad, you just reverse it. You do a minor third plus a major third. And you notice the fifth ends up being the exact same.
Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because when we put together like the minor pentatonic scale, like
right. Yeah. Yeah, and then minor pentatonic scale really is just a minor seventh arpeggio with an added fourth. And that's one of the reasons why it kind of is so universal and sounds so cool. But anyway, getting ahead of ourselves just a little.
Yeah.
So now, the reason why it's important to understand major and minor third terminology is because when we do the seventh, we're just adding on one more, right? So remember how last time we like wrote out the key of D and then we just went like every other note in the scale? Well, you just continue that and you get into your extensions. So root, third, fifth, skip the sixth, onto the seventh. So now when you play your D major scale, play the first note in the scale, the third, the fifth, and the seventh note in the scale. Yeah, and that's it. And that is how you determine which seventh to use for each one.
Okay. I love the, I think you called that the diminished triad, that we build from there, from that seventh.
Which is, let me ask you this, what combination of thirds is that? If a major triad is a major third plus a minor third, and a minor triad is a minor third plus a major third, what is a diminished triad?
All right, so we got C sharp E. That's a minor third, right?
Correct.
Because it's a step and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so is it a minor? Isn't that it's two? It's a step and a half from the C sharp to the E.
Right.
And then another step and a half up to the D, right?
Yes. So it's two minor thirds.
Two minor thirds. Okay.
So we want to remember that in our minds and be able to verbalize that. A major triad is a major third plus a minor third. A minor triad is a minor third plus a major third. And a diminished triad is two minor thirds. So go ahead and say that back to me.
Okay. A major triad is a major third plus a minor third. For a minor triad, we reverse that. We go minor third, major third. So that's a step and a half, then two whole steps. The first one would be two whole steps and then a step and a half. Major to minor, minor to major. And then the diminished would be two minor thirds, which would be step and a half, step and a half.
That's it. You got it.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing that you won't see very often is the augmented triad, which is the opposite of diminished. It would be two major thirds.
Okay. So, well, no, that would be.
So yeah, if you're starting on D, yeah, you'd have D, F sharp, A sharp.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting.
So I'll just tell you briefly the way I always use diminished as like a passing chord that creates tension to resolve it to something else, and I do the same thing
Yeah.
with augmented, and it just kind of comes down to my mood for the day, and I'm like, do I
Right.
want to create tension with an augmented chord or
Mm.
diminished? And sometimes I'll try both and just see what I like better, but
It
they really
it's
serve the same function.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I've always thought about like just kind of the rule of thumb, like the seventh wants to pull to the root. It wants to pull up, and so anytime you have the or well, it's that's it just always wants to jump up there, but and that's what made me think like it just wants to go. It's so resolvey there when you get back to the root.
Yeah.
So the augmented, are we hearing mostly in like popular music the diminished chord when we hear that seventh?
Yes.
Or
Yeah,
well,
I would say the diminished chord is much more common than
okay,
augmented.
yeah, augmented sounds like neoclassical, like we're getting into Ingve or something
Yeah.
like.
Yeah, because the augmented chord in all of its different variations, like there's the German augmented chord and the Italian sixth, and there's like 5 different versions. We studied that heavily in classical music theory.
Okay,
But then I never really saw it pop up that much outside of that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's
you're right on.
it's super interesting. So I recorded a podcast with this Music and Ideas podcast that I started co-hosting, and the last one that we did was Art Blakey's Monin, which is sort of like peak like hard bop jazz, and they do play outside the changes occasionally, but it seems to me like just a really like great use of like playing through the changes and using what's already there to create that tension and resolution. Although they seem to be doing there's a lot harmonically that's going on, but I didn't hear any sort of like really crazy like brainy sounding stuff on there, which was interesting. It all just sounded really nice and like stuff I had heard before in popular music. So that's why I was curious about that. I love that.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard it argued that jazz is almost easier to improvise over because it kind of does the work for you. If you know all the chords that are happening, you kind of just outline them with chord tones as they go
yeah,
by, and you just use voice leading to link them together. Um,
yeah,
and I mean, it's a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. Um,
right.
but one of the cool, but also frustrating things about like in rock and roll is frequently, it's just like E5, C5, D5.
Right.
It's great. It's simple because you can do whatever you want. You have
Yeah.
lots and lots of
There's
options.
no harmonic information there, so it's up to you to fill it in, right?
Yeah. But the problem is, as they would say in my college music theory classes, it's almost too much rope to hang yourself with.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, it's funny. So the album we did, and I promise this is relevant. The album we did before that was Miles Davis, Kind of Blue,
Oh yeah.
and as they were explaining to me, it's like that is really modal in nature, and part of what Miles was trying to do is he felt like the bop style jazz that he had started with was too restrictive, and I can see that now. That's like it's almost like it's telling him what to play as a
Yeah.
soloist, and now he's like, nope, we're gonna throw that out the window, and like we're just gonna play in this mode, and you just kind of do whatever, and it's just like
Totally.
here's one little change, and that's it. We're just gonna comp on 2 chords for like 8 minutes and just
Yeah.
go.
It'd be like you'd have like this for 4 bars,
Yeah,
and then it'd go,
yeah, exactly. That's the
and
first song. Yeah. So
yeah,
what?
right, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So kind of blue, it's very open, very sparse, and it's this very loose playground. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so it's starting to all kind of fit together now. It's something it like when I hear it, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense to me, but never quite understood how the harmony is working there, like how the changes are functioning as like in structuring the music. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool.
That's
So,
really cool. All right.
so getting into the sevenths, the next logical exercise is, instead of doing what we did last week with building the triads in the key, we now do that with sevenths. Aha. Oh, darn it. It's been a while since I've done that, but you get the idea.
Oh. No, is that? Where was I? No.
Yeah. So again, the most effective exercise to go through is just spelling that out on its own.
Yeah, write down the notes and then play them, and then.
Yeah, but real quick, I'm gonna give you that. I'm gonna share my screen with you. And we'll kind of go through that together real quick, if it's gonna let me.
Yeah,
oh, weird.
It's all fitting together.
Okay. For whatever reason, in order for me to share my screen, it's telling me to quit Zoom and do it again.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me before.
Have you?
Never quite figured that one out.
I have not had that happen before. Okay, so if this kicks us off, oh, there it goes.
There we go. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see it now. Okay.
Weird.
Sweet.
All right, cool. So if we just write out our notes in the key of D. And okay, so this is a great thing to do on the fretboard as well as doing on paper, but let's figure out what our one chord is going to be. Let's see, is this going to let me go like bold or anything? Will it give me different fonts? Oh, I guess. Here we go. Maybe that. Oh, nuts. It's all or none with this thing,
Yeah.
I guess. Okay.
Well, this is good. No, it forced me to pick it out here.
Okay, cool. All right, so the first note in the scale, right, we've got D, and then we skip one, F sharp, skip to A, skip to C sharp. So there's our 4 notes of our one chord if we turn it into a seventh. So we see that D to F sharp is a major third, F sharp to A is a minor third. Now what about A to C sharp?
That's another minor third.
That's going to be a major third.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
this is a major seventh chord, which is root plus major third plus minor third. Actually, you know what? Here's a better way of putting it. So major triad plus major third.
Okay. Yeah. Because that's the difference between your I call this the John Mayer chord. Or
right.
For him, it would be the, and then the Jimi Hendrix chord, which would be the, right.
Right. Yeah. Which which is a seventh chord with a flat 9. So we'll get into that kind of extension as well.
But it's got the minor third versus the major third on top, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. So now let's go to our 2 chord, which we already know is a minor triad because we know ma, mi, ma, ma, mi, dim, right? So E to G is a minor third, G to B is a major third, B to D is what?
B to D, let's see. That would be, that's a minor third, right? Because it's a step and a half, yep.
Okay, so this creates a minor 7th chord, which is going to be a minor triad plus a minor third. Wait a second. Yeah. Yeah, so a minor triad plus a minor third. So far, so good?
Okay, yep.
Okay, cool. So now let's go to our 3 chord. F sharp to A is minor third. A to C sharp is a major third. C sharp to E is what?
Let's see, so... That C sharp to E would be half step. It's a whole step, right? So C sharp, D, D, D. Oh, it's a minor again, right?
Minor third, yep. So this is a minor 7th chord as well. So far, our 1 chord becomes, which was major, becomes a major 7th. Our 2 chord, which was minor, becomes a minor 7th. And our 3 chord, which was minor, now becomes a minor 7th. So in traditional music theory, the major chords are represented by an uppercase Roman numeral, and the lowercase represents a minor chord.
Oh, okay. So the major 7 then just indicates the triad that's on top, if you will.
Yeah, so
right?
this is, and that's what's kind of confusing, is the MAJ, the major, has nothing to do with the chord at all. Because you could actually have, we could have a major, an A minor, major 7th chord.
Okay.
It's an A minor chord with a major 7th on top. Okay. Now you won't see that in the major scale or in like regular music. That's like the it's like the James Bond chord.
Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's a very specialized chord. Anyway, all right. So going to the 4 chord, we know that the 4 chord is major, right?
Yeah.
Just normally in our key.
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, because the 1, we know the 1, the 4, and the 5 are major. The 2, the 3, and the 6 are minor, and 7 is diminished. Okay, so from the 4 chord, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, starting from G, it's going to be a G something, G, 2 whole steps to B, 1.5 to D. D to F sharp is how far? A major third or a minor third?
It would be a major third, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
D to E.
So this is the same structure as our 1 chord. All right, now we go to the 5 chord. We know that the 5 chord is major, and we're going to see what kind of 7th we have on top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, starting from A to C sharp, 2 whole steps, C sharp to E, minor, third. E to G is how far?
That is another major third, right? Just up.
E to G sharp would be a major third. So E to G is a minor third.
E to F, F to F sharp to G. Okay, yeah. So 1.5. Okay.
Okay, so now
forgetting
we get something new, and it's okay. I don't expect you to always like I'm going through this pretty quickly. And I'm like, this, I remember the way I used to feel in music theory class is our instructor would like call on us one at a time and be like, he'd be like, we're going to go down the list of the questions and you got to be ready for me. And so you would like, while he was 4 people ahead, you would look ahead, be like, okay, he's going to call on me when I get to this one. And you'd be sitting there scrambling like, oh my God, I got to get it. And unfortunately, you're the only person here. So I'm just like putting you on the spot constantly instead of like every 20th person.
No, that's good. That's good. Well, did he ever like switch up the order just to mess with you?
every now and then.
Skip the student. Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, so this is the dominant 7th chord. This is like our blues chord, right?
The 5 chord?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So the 5 chord is our dominant 7th. This would be just this would be your 5/7. So in this case, in the key of D, it's an A7 chord. And that's the only time that's going to show up. So we have a major triad plus what?
I gotta think about this here.
So if we were to start from the A, play an A major triad, and now add a G on top. So from E to G is how far?
That's a minor.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, so now we clearly see our difference between the major 7th chord and the dominant 7th chord. It's a major triad plus a major third or a major triad plus a minor third.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
And so again, so up here, that would be like you could have an A major 7th chord or you could have an A7 chord, and one is a major 7, the other is defined as dominant 7, even though you'll never see it written as dominant 7th in the actual like sheet music.
It's just understood that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the 4 chord is called the subdominant, and then the 5 is the dominant. And it's, I don't remember exactly. It has something to do with like this wants to lead to this, and then this wants to lead back to this. And it's dominant because, I don't know, in my mind, I think it dominates the harmony so much that it says, now you must go back to the 1 chord. There's really no other option.
Right. Yeah.
Because if I play an A7, your ear automatically wants to go,
E.
Right, that resolution.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. So the dominant is just kind of describing its role in the harmonic structure here, which is like it's the thing upon which the changes will turn back to the beginning.
Yes, absolutely.
In that 1-4-5 kind of common structure.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, cool. So now let's go to the 6th chord. We're almost done with our brain melting for the day. Okay, so our 6th chord is typically what? Major, minor, or diminished?
It's a minor, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so ma, mi, mi, ma, ma, mi, dim. So this is the last mi.
Yes. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Okay. All right, so starting from B to D is a minor third. D to F sharp is a major third, which shows us it's a minor triad. F sharp to A is a major or a minor third.
That's a minor third.
Correct. So here we have our minor 7th chord, a minor triad plus a minor third. Okay, so we'll have B minor 7 in this case. Okay, cool. And then last but not first, our chord number 7. What do we know about chord number 7?
Well, we were talking about earlier. It's the one where it's the 1 chord in the progression where you've got 2 triads, 2 minor triads, I should say.
Two minor thirds.
Two minor thirds.
Yeah. But I get where you were going. So normally we would put a little like degree symbol up here to represent diminished, which
Okay.
I'm not going to search for right now. But oh wait, I could draw. It would look like that.
Yeah, I think I've seen that before. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the.
And sometimes it's written a little bit differently depending on like how you see it. Like and just for.
I think I've seen it as dim, D-I-M.
Yep.
Before.
Sometimes you'll see it as dim. Yeah.
Out.
And then the major seventh, sometimes you'll see like whatever, like instead of G major 7, you'll see G and then just a triangle shape. Like in jazz, you'll see that. And then for augmented, you'll see the plus sign. So there's several different ways of writing it out. Okay, cool. So diminished, we've got starting on C sharp, we've got C sharp to E is minor third, E to G is minor third. So there's our diminished triad. G to B is what?
A whole step and then a half step. So it's a minor again?
G to B is a major third.
Because there's A sharp. Yeah. Yep. Okay.
Okay,
yep,
so
two whole
now,
steps. Okay.
check this out. So now we have a new chord because we have 2 minor thirds plus a major third. And this is going to be a minor 7 flat 5. Which sounds kind of like big and confusing at first until you realize, oh, it's just telling me exactly what to do. Make a minor 7th chord and make the 5 flat. So we're going to go diminished triad plus major third. Okay. In traditional music theory, in classical music, this is called the half diminished chord. But you and I would see it 95% of the time in jazz, in rock, in pop, in country, in every other genre, it's going to be written as minor 7 flat 5.
Okay.
The minor 7 flat 5 is cool because it still creates tension, but it doesn't create nearly as much tension as a diminished triad. It actually kind of softens it. So if we do, let's do it a C sharp diminished chord. So let's go 4, 5, 6, 5. Go 4, 5, 6.
Oh.
And then 5 on the next string.
Okay, got it.
So that's root, flat, that's your root, your flat 5, your octave, and then your minor third.
Okay.
That is nasty, right? So minor 7 flat 5, we're just going to drop the octave down a whole step. So now we have 4, 5, 4, 5. And this is a way nicer shape also, right? You've probably done this before.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever I try to fake jazz and someone's like, oh, can you play some jazz for me? I just turn my tone knob all the way down, go to my neck pickup, and I just slide that. I do half steps into random minor 7 flat 5 chords.
Yeah.
And then I just play a whole bunch of random chromatic stuff.
Yeah, there you go. I love it.
It sounds like jazz. I mean, real jazz players know I'm full of it.
Rolling in their grave.
But the average listener is like, wow, that sounds really good.
Okay, so since we're there, right? So we just made so we dropped that, we dropped the octave down a whole step to make the flat 5 chord.
Yep.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out where the flat 5 part, where that descriptor is coming from.
So if you have in your diminished triad, it's 2 minor thirds, right?
Right.
Excuse me. So in a major chord and in a minor chord, you would define those intervals as like root, major third, perfect fifth, or root, minor third, perfect fifth. Does that make sense when I use that terminology?
Okay, so
like think power chord. Your fifth is always. That's why power chords are so cool, because you pretty much always have a root and a fifth for every single chord. Right. Whether it's major or minor. So if I do a D major chord, there's the root and the fifth, just a power chord. If I do E minor, Well, my root and fifth are still the exact same.
Yeah.
Right? But when I go diminished, now my 5 is flatted because of the 2 minor thirds.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see. I see. So that's kind of the blue note, right? That flat fifth. Is that kind of like a bluesy sort of note? Is
It
that what they
is. Yeah, but it's the flat 5 is typically used in blues, like in minor, off of the 1 chord, and it's used as a transition. But you're right. You're right. The flat 5 is a blue chord, but different context here. So I guess here's the easier way to see it. Just make a minor 7th chord. Let's go to C sharp. Yeah, C sharp minor 7th. Okay, now take your 5th, which is G sharp, and drop it down a fret. Now you'll want to just rearrange your fingers to make that more comfortable.
Yeah.
And there's your minor 7 flat 5.
Ah, gotcha. Okay. Okay. All right. So now let's go one more. So if I drop that, so we drop the 5th down. I see that now. Now, what if we take that B and then bring it down to a C?
Or the B and drop it to a B flat.
Yeah, B flat.
Yes. Now, what chord do we have? So now this is our fully diminished 7, which is 3 minor thirds in a row. So instead of minor third, minor third, major third, which gives us minor 7 flat 5, we have minor third, minor third, minor third, which is fully diminished.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Very.
Now,
Of that major third, I only ask because I've often done like pulled that up to the, I guess would be the root, but
right. Okay. So here's the deal. Naturally in the key is the minor 7 flat 5 is what occurs, not the fully diminished 7. However, you can pretty much universally substitute the fully diminished 7, and all it does is create even more tension.
Yeah, it's like that. It's basically an accidental, right?
It is.
It's not in the key. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's the ultimate voice leading.
Ah, okay, yeah, and that even okay. That's cool because you could probably substitute them, right? Like as you said, to create more tension as needed.
Yes, yes, for sure. Okay, cool. So we've covered a lot. What I'd like for you to do, and I think I have a document.
This is so interesting.
On the, I'm glad you like it because I think it's so fun and I think it's really interesting. And I remember in college, like all of the voice majors and the education majors hated doing music theory, and all the instrumentalists, all the soloists, like we all just ate it up.
Yeah,
and so some people just want to play songs, and some people really like diving deep in this. So I'm glad you like it.
Yeah, well, like long term, my goal I would love to become a much better improviser. But in the short term, this stuff is super interesting because I've often I'll find myself, like I said before, reaching these sort of roadblocks in the writing where I keep finding myself reaching for the same cliche, and not because I want to, where I want to do something different. I'm just not sure what to do, and I think sometimes it's helpful to be able to sit there and break down the chord and think about what I'm doing and okay, let's try a few things out. Like I would have never come across that the major 7 flat 5. I had figured out at one point that fully diminished chord was nice, but now I've got another piece in my arsenal. I don't have to create that much tension if I don't want it.
Right.
I could play around with the two.
Totally.
I find that really useful in writing. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'll send you a screenshot of everything we wrote out. Plus, I have some other like PDFs, resources, and some with kind of a breakdown of all of that as well. So I'll send those to you.
Yeah, that's great. It's starting to come into picture now. I think what we had described before, building those triads, is sort of okay, I hear what's going on, but I'm not. It's the big picture is not filling in yet, but now it is. You can use triads to build any chord you want,
Yeah.
essentially.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So next time, if what we really should do is just spend a lot more time on triads and seventh chords and just dive deep.
Yeah.
But if you're itching for it, I'm happy to do an overview of extensions, 11s, 9, 11, and 13s, and how those fit in. Honestly, I think for you, I think a cursory synopsis of that will be pretty easy for us to do. I think it'll make sense.
Sure.
And then we'll go deeper with the triads and the seventh chords, more application.
Yeah, I'd love to just develop, like some facility with just what we've got right now and just start messing with that, because there's plenty to be had there. So I guess that seems to open it up. So it's for me, like, just having those sevenths available when I'm playing over a change, it seems like that gives me a lot more. It feels like it's more freedom.
Oh,
so
totally.
if I'm going to design like a chord progression, like what did we do last time? Was it D and just G?
Yeah, just D and G.
So my chord tones would be, the triads, right? The D triad, major triad, and then the G would be the because G would be the third, so that would be a minor.
Oh, no, that's your four
major.
chord.
That's
yeah,
four
so
chord.
It's major. And what we learned today is that if you want to add a seventh, you don't have to, but if you wanted to, that's the 1 and the 4 chord, they both become major seventh chords. So now you have this option. You could turn one of them into a major seventh. You could turn both. You could use neither, but it just gives you more options. And then in terms of writing melodies, now you don't just have access to, or for improvisation, you don't just have D, F sharp, and A. Well, you also have this C sharp. And so maybe I use that C sharp seventh to voice lead into the B of the G chord or into the D. And so now maybe I've got this. Right?
Yeah, that makes sense, so I can just play around with those. See, that seventh is nice because now with over the D, I can just go or whatever,
Yeah.
and then so I'd grab the next seventh.
Yes.
See, now I feel like I'm playing something,
Yeah.
Which is cool.
Well, and you're not guessing. You can play with confidence, knowing like it's not like how it used to be for me, where I'm like, I hope this works. It's like, oh, I know for sure this is going to work because of math.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. It really does make your playing more focused. It's like it sounds immediately more mature, I guess, for lack of a better term. When because I've done it by accident a handful of times in the past when I've just written things out or just sat there and just noodled, and I'm like, oh, that whatever I did right there, and I was hitting chord tones basically, but whatever I did right there, that sounds good, and then the rest is just all kind of like, just babbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, man. Well, great job today.
Okay, yeah, thanks, man. That was really helpful. So I think, all right, so now I'm going to take that same exercise we were talking about, just making changes, and then start playing these triads over them and start making some music with them.
Yes. And I'll give you some more specifically. We'll go through some more exercises with this stuff, some things that will, I think, just help us go deeper.
Okay, yeah, no, that sounds great, man. That sounds great. Sweet.
All right, my friend. Well, you have a great rest of the week, and I'll email you the screenshot of what we did, and just let me know if you got any questions.
Okay, yeah, thanks, Eric. Thanks, man.